Mullingar, a quiet town in the heart of County Westmeath, known for its lakes, its markets, and its proud sense of community. But in the summer of 2024, beneath that calm surface, something dark was stirring. Two traveller families, the Nevins and the Dinnegans, had been locked in a spiral of violence that would shock the town and end with blood spilled on a busy street in broad daylight. This is the story of how a €50 drug debt ignited one of Ireland's most violent traveller feuds in recent years. It began, as so many tragedies do, with something small, a petty dispute, a whispered insult, and according to Garda reports, a debt, no more than €50. On July 4th, 2024, tensions between the two families flared. Threats were made, windows were smashed. Garda responded to calls of shots fired at a house. It was the first of what would become 15 violent incidents in just 5 weeks. Over the following days, the feud spiraled. A stolen car, a recovered firearm, and a string of chilling threats, including one directed at a woman named Lucy Dinnegan and her 2 sons. The name behind that threat, Michael Nevin Jr., a 39-year-old bar worker from Grange Heights. What began as words would soon become bloodshed. As July turned to August, fear gripped Mullingar's traveller community. Garda patrols were stepped up. Locals reported convoys of cars roaming the town late at night, headlights flashing, engines roaring. Acts of intimidation that hinted at what was coming. Both families lived only minutes apart, but by now, there was a line drawn through the town. The Dinnegan side claimed to have been hunted and harassed. The Nevins accused them of the same. Then, on Friday, August 2nd, just after 5 o'clock in the evening, the feud erupted into open violence. It was a warm Friday evening. Anthony Dinnegan, a father in his late 20s, left his home on Austin Friar Street with his partner and young child. They'd planned to run a quick errand before dinner, but CCTV would later show something else moving through Mullingar that evening, a convoy of 2 cars circling the area. Inside those cars were men from the Nevin family. Moments later, the cars stopped. Doors opened. A group of men got out and began to chase. As Anthony and his partner ran, one man broke from the pack. Tall, heavy-set, carrying something glinting in the sunlight. It was Michael Nevin Jr. Witnesses would later say he shouted, "I have you now. You're going to die today." Then the attack began. Nevin Jr. cornered Anthony Dinnegan on the street. He plunged a black-handled kitchen knife deep into his victim's chest and abdomen, again and again. Anthony fell, bleeding heavily. As he tried to crawl away, another blow landed, this time from a hatchet that slashed open his leg. By the time Garda arrived, the ground was slick with blood. A detective later told the court, "The stabbing happened in broad daylight after 5 o'clock on a busy street. Nearby, Garda searches found a shotgun and ammunition hidden close to the Nevin side of town. Somebody, it seemed, had come prepared for war. Paramedics rushed to the scene, but it was Anthony's own family who got him to the hospital first. He was bleeding from the chest, his lung, liver and bowels torn apart by knife wounds. Doctors said one injury, to the liver, could have led to death. For hours, surgeons fought to keep him alive. He would survive. Barely. But the trauma would stay with him forever. Within days, Garda moved fast. 5 people were arrested in coordinated raids across Mullingar. Among them, Michael Nevin Jr., the alleged knife man, Michael Nevin Sr., his father, aged 61, and Christopher Sausages Nevin, the uncle, a 31-year-old known to Garda, later accused of wielding a pickaxe during the attack. In statements from his hospital bed, Anthony Dinnegan identified his attacker immediately. "It was Michael Nevin Jr. who stabbed me." Court documents later revealed that both father and son had made death threats to Dinnegan family members just weeks earlier. When the case came before the Mullingar District Court on August 7th, the town was on edge. Nevin Jr. faced charges of assault causing serious harm, threatening to kill, and possession of a weapon. Nevins Sr. was accused of issuing death threats and being a passenger in a stolen car used in the feud. Both men were remanded in custody. The feud wasn't over, but the law had finally stepped in. The Mullingar Feud wasn't an isolated act of madness. It was the latest battle in a long and bitter family war. Throughout the summer of 2024, Garda had logged a grim catalogue of violence. Shots fired at a family home, criminal damage to cars and houses, 11 separate death threats in just 1 month. And even as the courts prepared to prosecute the Nevins, the violence continued. In May 2025, 2 Dinnegan brothers, James and Patrick, were charged with a machete attack on another traveller home in Mullingar. The feud had grown, pulling in cousins, friends and neighbours. An entire community was now living under the shadow of revenge. By June 2025, the case finally reached the Central Criminal Court in Dublin. The charges were serious: attempted murder, violent disorder, assault causing serious harm. But in court, both men, Michael Nevin Jr. and Christopher Sausages Nevin, changed their pleas. Nevin Jr. admitted to causing serious harm to Anthony Dinnegan. Christopher admitted to violent disorder, acknowledging he'd taken part in the assault, but not that he'd struck the fatal blows. The DPP accepted their pleas. The attempted murder charges were dropped. Still, the judge made no secret of his view. On November 7, 2025, Mr. Justice David Keane called the attack particularly severe and vicious. He said the victim's survival was more a matter of luck than judgment. Then came sentencing. Nevin Jr., 13 years with 3 suspended. Christopher Nevin, 8 years with 2.5 suspended. 8 years behind bars for the knifeman, 4 for his accomplice. Justice Keane also noted that Nevin Jr. still had a suspended sentence from 2019 and referred him back to Mullingar Circuit Court to decide whether that would be reactivated. In a quiet courtroom, Anthony Dinnegan took the stand. His voice trembled as he read his victim impact statement. "I'm a shell of the man I once was," he said. "Every scar on my body is a reminder of that day. The attack stripped away the person I used to be." He described sleepless nights, flashbacks, and a constant fear of stepping outside his door. His partner, who had run for safety with their child that afternoon, sat silently in the gallery, eyes fixed on the floor. After sentencing, Garda confirmed what many already feared. The feud had left a lasting scar on Mullingar. Detective Garda Kevin Lennon told the court that 11 threats to kill had been recorded in the month before the stabbing. His colleague, Garda James Grogarty, summed it up simply: this was part of an ongoing traveller feud between the Nevin and Dinnegan families. But even amid the bitterness, there was a glimmer of hope. Both families eventually agreed to sit down with the Traveller Mediation Service, an independent group that works to resolve feuds within the traveller community. Mediation sessions were held quietly, behind closed doors, and though peace wasn't declared, open violence between the two families gradually faded. A €50 drug debt, 15 violent incidents, a man nearly killed in the street. And now, years later, 2 men sit behind bars, their families fractured, their community shaken. In Mullingar, life has returned to its familiar rhythm. Shops open, children walk to school, and yet, the whispers remain. Locals still remember that Friday evening. The screams, the flashing blue lights, and the sense that for a few terrible moments, their town had become a battlefield. Violence has a way of echoing long after the blood has dried. For the families at the heart of the Mullingar feud, the scars, physical and emotional, will never fully fade. And for everyone else, it's a reminder that even the smallest spark can set fire to an entire community if no one steps in to stop it.